So today, the return of intel drops happened for Modern Warfare 3. Remember that series that Infinity Ward started ahead of the reveals for Modern Warfare 2 last year? Well, it turns out Sledgehammer is picking those up and running it back again this year, with today being our first one of an unknown number of them here in the future. In this one, we learned a bit more about one of the newer, larger features from Modern Warfare 3. We saw some new gameplay shown off, along with some returning footage, and a few other things in between. So today, we're taking a look at the intel drop and what you can learn here about Modern Warfare 3 gameplay a little further. As we go along, drop your thoughts down below on what you think of the new feature for how we'll play Modern Warfare 3. Like it, dislike it, impartial. Whatever the case, drop your thoughts down below. But if you enjoy the video, do me a favor and drop a like on it, as well as consider subscribing to stay up to date with all things Modern Warfare 3, as well as things like XDefiant and a few other games here in the near future that if you'd like to stay on top of all of it, I'd love to have in the community. Finally, check out my friends over at Gamer Advantage. They're running a 20% off discount on all frames for a limited time with code Espresso. The best discount they've offered in probably like half a year or so at this point, but more on that a little later. For now, let's take a look at what we can learn out of the new Modern Warfare 3 gameplay that we were shown. So first things first, let's take a look at that intel drop if you haven't seen it just yet.
Modern Warfare 3 introduces open combat missions, which for the first time allows players the choice of how to complete objectives based on their preferred playstyle. Open combat missions are part of the campaign. They're part of the story, but you get to play them in the way that you want to play them. Those who like stealth gameplay can play it stealthily. Those who like to snipe, or if you like vehicles, or if you like to go guns and blazing, all of those options are supported and afforded to you as a player.
This isn't just some additional mode that lives alongside the campaign. This is intertwined with the story, and we've intentionally dispersed these throughout the campaign. When the player starts the mission, they are given a loadout, but as they go through and play, they'll be encountering new weapons, tacticals, loot crates, and these are all added to your arsenal. Players can change it up, play the mission now with suppressed weapons and sneak around, or strap on armor plates and run in loud, get right into the action. Enemies are now adapting and adjusting to your playstyle. Open combat missions have a decent amount of replayability aspect to them, and when I say that, it's less about go through the entire game and start over and play it a second time. It's more about, within each mission, trying to experience it in different ways. In one level, we start you on top of a catwalk overlooking the entire level. Hopefully by that point in the game, the player has gotten to a point where they can figure out how to start picking it apart. So player empowerment is a huge part of that level. You may even decide, to challenge yourself on some of these, like what's the fastest I can do this, or can I just bring a knife to a gunfight, and really kind of push the bounds on what you can bring as a player.
These are the type of campaign missions that we've always wanted to create, and we just can't wait to get them into the hands of the players.
So a decent bit to break down in there, some new, some old by a few days, but a more comprehensive look at how the campaign and gameplay loop will go, no less. Firstly though, I gotta say, I am very much so welcoming these intel drops coming back again this year. While I do hope the post-launch communication is much different than Infinity Ward handled with this past year's outing in Modern Warfare 2, last year's intel drops were the most they communicated with the community, and they were honestly pretty insightful. Some intel drops highlighted some stuff that maybe not everybody will care about, like the focus on AI in some, and perhaps how some of the maps were made and how they actively showed removing trees from maps and stuff like that, but it was always an interesting peek behind the curtain, at least in my opinion. So if Sledgehammer can keep the communication up post-launch, I'm absolutely excited to learn more directly from the source here, and with new footage each time as it progresses, from now until, well, probably the multiplayer reveal at COD Next, which we'll be breaking down in tomorrow's video, I believe. But anyways, let's talk about gameplay. So like I said, some of the footage is new, some is old. We see some shots of Gora Dam, we see more shots of the rooftop mission, we see more of a mission that is on docks, giving me vibes of both like a mixture of shipment and cargo from Black Ops 2. We see part of a stealth mission. That one in particular is actually the other mission that we were shown at Sledgehammer Studio. That one I want to say was priced, though in the footage here it looks like Farah, so you might be able to choose your characters here going into it, but you're searching the crash site for the black box records of the downed airliner from the new No Russian mission. It was a good mission to showcase the open combat situation, and we get to see a bit of the player choice and agency that can be taken. But anyways, you see new elements to like guns a-blazing, stealth, your choice really. One thing that I was looking at this time around with the footage was the minimap itself. We know that we have things like self-revives, chest loot, and stuff we can scavenge along with other items, but there are a few elements on the HUD and minimap in particular that stood out to me a bit. One of which was maybe a fog of war element, for those that have remembered Black Ops 4 and how the minimap worked in multiplayer at that point. In some sequences here at this, it seems like there's a haze around the minimap, as if the whole world isn't visible just yet on that minimap. I'm partly wondering if we'll see something like some strategy games where you can't see your TAC map until you map out that part of the world by exploring it, with replayability maybe garnering the ability to see all that up front rather than throughout the mission unlocking more segments. For campaign, I don't mind that so much. It does offer a bit more exploratory of a nature of the game style, but my only ask is we keep that kind of stuff out of multiplayer at all costs. Anyways, there's also certain icons on the HUD that you can see specific things like ammo supplies, locations of self-revives, UAVs, and other items. I imagine those being in like crate drops, but then things like armor icons, which look like singular pieces, but maybe they're armor boxes to fully replenish your reserve. Those golden chests you see in the footage as well, that's where players can find kitted weapons and other things like that. Those are denoted by golden case markers with question marks on them on the HUD, and it seems like your HUD will turn red when you've alerted an enemy or are spotted in some capacity. So a decent bit of like in-game notifiers, I guess you could say. But as mentioned in a companion blog post, it's also mentioned that players can do all of what you may expect with the freedom of choice. Parachute, parkour, swim if there's water, drive vehicles, use kill streaks, and other interactable items like defusing that bomb in the one segment of gameplay that was showcased. But one thing that was expanded upon throughout that blog post was a segment called Using Your Loadout, stating not only do you typically have a primary and secondary weapon, equipment, lethals, and tacticals, and an on-operator gear like binoculars or NVGs, but another part of your loadout, and new to this campaign, is additional equipment. Here, just like in Call of Duty Warzone, you can stow away loadout items like field upgrades, self-revive kits, and equipment pieces for later use, allowing you to use certain strategies more often. So in the same fashion of Warzone's looting, you'll have an additional slot for something of your own choice here that can maybe help you out in a different area and adds to that sort of player choice. You don't have to do it the same way as somebody else. But in addition to that segment talking about loadouts, Sledgehammer actually went ahead on Twitter. Call of Duty didn't include it in the official blog post, but Sledgehammer ended up tweeting a picture of the menu screen for creating your loadout. Now, yes, it is the same UI that is the COD HQ UI. At this point, I'm not expecting a whole ton of this to change as much as I would like it to, but it seems like we're still going to be having that same unified UI across mobile, console, PC, and everything. So just know that going in. But the image itself showcases a few important things: UI elements, weaponry, some equipment, those weapons confirming the use of the Holger 556, the first of which that we've seen here the name for it. We knew we'd see it in there because of game files, leaked mentions of it, and even in-game footage as of yesterday, but there was no in-game HUD elements that showcased the weapon's name as it will be in Modern Warfare 3. We also saw silenced Core 45. I'd imagine it's a similar fashion to like what we have in Modern Warfare 2 with the X12 and X13 auto, because this looks like that X21 that we saw yesterday in that ledge hang clip, but obviously it's a different gun. We see a smoke grenade, throwing knife, ascender, and parachute, those two things seemingly being the air quote given items, not selectable, but always being on your person in this mission. And we see that we'll have 32 items to discover in the missions, my guess being denoted by the question marks throughout the minimap and HUD footage that we see shown off, though it's not really guaranteed, just an educated guess. And of course, difficulties of at least up to veteran. Whether or not we have realism, we'll have to wait and see. But the loadouts as well can be changed on the fly by the sounds of it, and can be adjusted in game. So if it's not exactly your cup of tea, you go in stealth, but you alert some enemies to it and you have to change up on the fly, you can go guns a-blazing at that point. But that is what they showed off. And that is the new footage that we end up learning here about Modern Warfare 3's open combat missions in campaign. Not everything will be linear, not everything will be open combat. So we're going to have a mixture of both. You're going to have missions like we saw with that Operation 627 gameplay yesterday, where you're going to have a clear path from point A to point B, and you're going to be pushed along by the gameplay itself. However, in the other areas, you'll have those open combat missions where you will have that creative freedom to do it how you want to. It seems like it might be like a 50-50 split in regards to how these will go, but right now that's what we know. Just know that this isn't going to be every part of the campaign, but we will see it a decent bit. But anyways, that is where we're going to wrap it up. So I'd love to get your thoughts down below on what you think here of this. Before we close out the video, though, I want to take a second and let you know about my friends over at Gamer Advantage, who produce what I believe are the best blue light glasses on the market. Right now, code Espresso gets you 20% off as opposed to the normal 10%. So if you'd like to pick up the most comfortable, lightweight, and durable frames out there, with orders even being prescription compatible and insurance being able to help cover some of, if not the entire cost of your order, check them out. I'd highly recommend at least just reading up on their tech, their product, and their semi-pun intended vision, all linked in the description below. But again, if you'd like to pick up a pair for yourself, now's the best time to do so, and I'd say about at least the last half year or so with code Espresso, that giving you 20% off. But again, check it out, linked below, but that's what we're gonna call it. So drop your thoughts once again. If you enjoyed the video, you found it at all insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on it. And if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing to stay up to date with all things Modern Warfare 3, XDefiant, and other content here on the channel. We'll keep it to date with all that kind of stuff. So love to have you in the community, but for now, thanks so much for watching. Mine has been Espresso. I'll see you later. Take care and peace.